We have a special guest today, and before they join us, I want to tell you a little bit more about this person. Olivia Kieffer is a composer and percussionist from the United States. A native of Wisconsin, she spent her musical career in Cincinnati, Atlanta, and Milwaukee. She taught percussion and world music at Reinhardt University for 8 years and was an active composer and performer in Atlanta's vibrant music scene, including her time as bandleader, drummer, and composer for the 7-piece chamber rock band Clibber Jones Ensemble. In a few weeks, she will be living in Miami to start her DMA in music composition. Her articles have been published in New Music Box and the Journal of the International Alliance for Women in Music. And she also writes album reviews for Irrelevant. Her music has been described as immediately attractive, like a knife of light, and honest, to the point, and joyful. Olivia enjoys a good game of cribbage with rye whiskey. Please welcome Olivia Kieffer.
Hello.
Hello. So, a little bit of introduction for what we're doing today is just sitting down with a composer who's been working in the field and has recordings and performances of their work being done. Just to get to know you a little bit better, can you tell us a little bit more about how you got started in music? What was your earliest memory of learning music?
Oh boy. Well, I grew up in a family that we either just listened to like 1970s Christian rock, on LPs,
Mm-hmm.
and then the oldies, the Motown, all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think I first developed my independent musical taste when I joined a percussion ensemble in 8th grade, so Lawrence University percussion ensemble for high schoolers and middle schoolers. And it was super fun. And so we started playing percussion music. So I went to the Appleton Public Library and was just looking for anything percussion. So I went to the CD section. And all they had was like 3 or 4 CDs. And it was like Steve Reich, Xenakis, John Cage.
Oh, okay.
I think that's
Yeah.
it. I think, yeah. So I started listening to that stuff. And I completely fell in love with Steve Reich's music. So here I was, 13 years old, listening to drumming. And just not knowing what the heck was going on, but I loved it, and I loved the idea. And the Cage CD was like this French quartet. I can't remember who they were, but they had first, second, and third construction on it. And I think it's one of those constructions that, or maybe it's a different piece that starts with like a bunch of tin cans and then like a ringing phone.
Mm-hmm.
And I just loved how much that would, like, you could just have noise and that was also music. It wasn't noise, but it wasn't like, a piano or something like that.
Yeah.
So that's how I started out, like, really getting into percussion. And I never thought I would, at that age, I never thought I would do it. Yeah. So then I went to school and really, really studied music, percussion. But yeah, it was that percussion ensemble that really got me kicking in music. Oh, and I forgot I took piano lessons when I was younger. I forgot about that.
Oh, man.
I probably forgot because I was that student. I was awful. I didn't want to practice. I just wanted to, you know what? Oh, this is funny. I never thought of this. All I wanted to do was make up my own stuff.
Oh, really?
And I wanted to, like, I learned stuff by ear because I hated reading notes. Like, either it was me or my teacher was, like, just not doing it.
Oh, no.
I was a space case. Yeah, so I was that kid that you just don't want to have as a
God.
So we gave up on that.
I feel like almost a lot of musicians I know started off with like piano lessons as a kid because that was just like the thing to do if you were, because there's not a whole lot of, at least where I grew up, there wasn't a whole lot of like public school music before middle school.
No.
So if you were in elementary school, it was just like, there just wasn't anything there. And so all the parents were like, all right, piano lessons.
Or you could sing.
Yeah.
You could sing or like be in plays and stuff.
Yeah.
I tried out for a couple of musicals and only made it into the chorus of one musical, but I flunked. I don't know how many different musicals. I wanted to be cool, like my friends who were in theater.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wasn't my calling. Yeah.
So started off with percussion. You decided to go study at university. Did you study performance?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Performance. Yeah.
So after studying performance, when did you decide I want to go study composition?
Well, that when I first kind of made that decision, like this is what I'm going to try to do, was like 3 years ago. So pretty recently in the grand scope of things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd started writing music at all in my early 30s, and then I started the band Clifford Jones Ensemble in 2012 was when he really sort of got kicking. And that came from because I was writing like just silly electronic stuff in GarageBand. And then my
Nice.
husband at the time was like, "This stuff is really cool. You should arrange this for live musicians." And I was like, I didn't know what I was doing. I mean, but that's the start of everything great. You don't know what you're doing usually. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
and I had so many wonderful musician friends in Atlanta that just were like, "Yeah, sure." So I think that's how I got lucky with starting later, as it were, instead of like a teenager or something, was because I was already established as a musician.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's the reason why people are like, "Oh, sure." I'd play a friend's music. It doesn't matter if they played the flute and never wrote anything. Of course I'd play their stuff. You know,
Yeah.
because
Yeah, it
they're my
seems like you
friend.
had a really good community that you could, uh, use in Atlanta. That since you were already there for so long, because how long
Yeah.
did you live there?
In total, I was there for 13 years.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So at the time, I'd been living there for, what was it, 2012, whatever, a long time. Over a decade, right about,
Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
maybe right about a decade. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's yeah. It was not too long ago, but I was teaching, and I thought, I was considering a bunch of different life paths. I knew it was time for me to stop being an adjunct. I just sensed I'm not going to go any farther in my career.
Mm.
I'm not going to become a famous percussionist. I'm never going to make any more money at this job, which I loved the job. I love it so much that I want to teach again.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, there's so many different things I could do. I could go for a DMA in percussion. I could I could get a teaching certificate and teach elementary general music.
Mm-hmm.
Learn the guitar, and because I like kids,
Yeah.
that would have been a
Yeah.
more stable direction to go. And yet, I chose the most ridiculous thing, which was to go back and get another degree in composition.
Yeah.
So it was follow your heart.
So this starts just kind of experimentation with kind of the tools that you had at hand. Can you tell us a little bit more about the writing process for you? How does an idea get onto the page?
That's a lot of different things. Usually, like if I just want to sit down and write, I'll go either the toy piano or like a keyboard, or maybe if I'm playing drum set or something. Sometimes I'll just record myself and go, "Oh, that's a really cool rhythm." Or like two of my tunes are based like heavily on a one that I wrote for the band, Clifford Jones Ensemble, was like it's my first original tune. Like I wrote it not in GarageBand. That's from a bass line in this really obscure uh, emo band for the 90s. And then for my sax quartet, which is more recent, there was this like a electric guitar line
Mm-hmm.
from there, and it just like a little thing, like a 2 measure thing, not even, and that just exploded into. So I'll start with like a little thing,
Nice.
and then just go. It could
Yeah.
go this way, it could go that way, it could go up or down. It can stay here and it just go outwards. And then sometimes, I don't know if I'm at the beginning or at the end or the middle where I am in the piece. I just know, depending. If I'm writing a
Yeah.
toy piano thing, it's toy piano. But if I know that I'm going to write for a certain ensemble, then you got to think about stuff like, what can the flute do?
Yeah, yeah. I like that you
Yeah.
bring up the toy piano because going through some of your music on the website and listening to your stuff, there's a lot of toy piano music on there. Like, how did you get into like so far deep into toy piano? It's very cool.
Started with my friend Amy Odell, who was a keyboardist for Clifford Jones Ensemble, and she got two different toy pianos, like a big 4 octave or 3 octave,
Wow.
37 key Schoenhut, which is like you could just buy anywhere. But then
Mm.
she also got this wonderful French, I don't know how you pronounce it, Michelson, I think, toy piano that had like 25 keys, and it folds up like a bread box. It's really neat, and
Oh
they both
wow.
have such completely different timbres. Just the French one is like almost like glass. I think the bars are glass, and the other one it's like a plastic hammer on a metal tine. Anyway, so she decided that she wanted to commission several composers to write pieces for her, and she would play a concert.
Oh cool.
Yeah, and then shortly after that, she's like, "Okay, I'm going to make an album out of this," which she did. So she
Wow.
told me, yeah, it's called "Find Your Inner Child," and
Okay.
it's fancy. You can only buy the CD. You can't get the MP3 online. Actually,
Gotcha.
you can because for old school I Care If You Listen fans, before they went on Spotify, you can go and download, like, they have like a summer mix and like a fall mix. So I think maybe
Mm,
2016. So you can actually just listen to that one. But
okay.
anyway, she said, "Oh, well, I have two toy pianos, so you could do one in each hand." And I was like, "Oh my god!" So I did, and that
Yeah.
was Nobility of Homophones. And then
Okay.
and then I'm trying to make a long story short. Then I found online a call for scores for the Florida International Toy Piano Festival,
Oh wow.
and that was the very first one. Yeah, and so I applied with Nobility of Homophones, and then I asked Amy if she would, like, if I got in, would she be willing to play it? And she said, "Oh my God, I just found out today I'm like one of the guest performers." And I was like, "Oh my
Nice.
gosh, yeah!"
Nice.
So we went, and that was headed by Elizabeth A. Baker. She was a wonderful musician. Um, and it was fun, and then I met all kind of people who are into toy piano, and clearly, like, these are the people who are into toy piano because it's the first one ever. This gal from Italy came, and she plays the piece sometimes,
Dang.
and toy piano people are fun.
Yeah.
You won't get a boring one in the bunch. A bunch of nerds, a bunch of fun nerds.
Uh-huh.
So that was the
Man.
beginning. All of a sudden I went, wow, there's all these people with these neat pieces and interesting ideas, and everybody just loves this little tinkery box. But to
Yeah.
me, it's so attractive because of its limitations. It's got a short amount of keys, but also you can take whatever you do on the toy piano and make it into something else,
Mm.
make it into something really beautiful. And also timbrely, each one is a different timbre. I think sometimes people think of toy piano, they go, "Oh, it's just got this one sound."
Yeah.
But actually, depending on what kind you get, and there's this one Japanese one that sounds like, it's beautiful. It sounds like a xylophone and a glockenspiel mixed together. It's
Weird.
so amazing. It's such a
Yeah.
glorious sound. Yeah, I don't even know what it's called or where you find it, but I heard recordings of it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So you've written for a lot of different kinds of ensembles, from concert band, sax quartet, electronic, the Clifford Jones ensemble. Is there a particular ensemble that you like to write for?
Well, I discovered I like writing for percussion. I hadn't done much. I just had one piece called Power Walking Music, it's for like 11 players. That was one of my very first pieces, and that was I arranged from one of my, like, dorky garage band sort of things.
Mm,
And then for my thesis, I wrote a percussion trio, and that was fun. So I would say actually that writing for percussion is the most challenging.
really?
I don't, and I can't put my finger on why yet, but maybe because it's so huge. We go, okay, marimba, but then it's
Yeah.
like, oh my God, we have,
Yeah, once you
like,
open up that
just,
box.
yeah. And for me, I'm like, I'm never going to write for timpani unless it's an orchestra piece, because I want human beings outside of university setting, no 5 octave, you
Yeah.
know, no bone crotales.
Yeah. Oh man, you bring up a great point because that was part of a conversation that I saw you in on Twitter. Was a couple of composers talking about, like, how did they phrase it? I think it was like, what are your pet peeves for percussion or something like that. And a lot of people brought up really good points of, some people just don't have access to these instruments. So, if you can substitute something else, or, put a different instrument in there, or just don't use it at all, then it hopefully that music would be able to get to a bigger audience, right? Because more ensembles would be able to play it. So do concerns like that factor into what instruments you write for?
Well, not outside of percussion really, because almost most things that I've written are from a commission or somebody asking me to write
Okay.
for them. So my most recent, I've got two commissions coming up. One is a for solo 8-string guitar. It's called bronze guitar. And yeah, I'm excited because it's like the normal 6 guitar strings, but then it has a higher string that's an A and a lower string that's a low A. And low string has like a capo on it. I know, I'm like so excited. And the other one, which is going to be even more of a challenge, that's a consortium for a 10 to 12 minute solo alto saxophone piece. So like with that's solos, but then before that, I'm doing an arrangement of my tenor sax and bass clarinet duet, Hot Work, for 5x5, which is flute, clarinet, piano, upright bass, electric guitar. And so that's like a fixed. So what I'm trying to say is a lot of times it's like, oh, here's our instrumentation. You need to write for this.
Okay. Yeah.
Versus I just am writing something that maybe somebody will play one day. I like to write for people.
Yeah.
That's how I started, is writing for people and for friends.
Yeah.
You know?
That's the best.
It is the best. We're lucky to have friends, music friends.
Yeah. So this might be more of a business question rather than a music question, but
sure.
How have you, I guess, what's your experience with getting ensembles to play your compositions?
Well, sometimes it's something like a call for scores where I just, a bunch of people, we all send in our stuff and they pick somebody.
Yeah.
And that's happened to me a couple of times. So it's people that I don't know personally, or like sometimes it is, but usually it's not. But then stuff like, the percussion ensemble piece, the first one I wrote, I was teaching and I asked the percussion studio if they wanted to play it. I wasn't trying to be one of those, professors who like make their students play their stuff. I think that's kind of shady. But it wasn't like that. They were like, oh my gosh, yeah, I want to play this. And likewise, I encouraged them to write pieces. So it was a very two-way street for that. Or like with the band, of course. And then sometimes it's people just finding my stuff online or hearing about different things. And then also, to be perfectly honest, once in a while, it's a woman composer thing where this person might say, okay, I'm looking for women composers to do. That's what happened with my good friend Nathaniel Gorek, he plays all kinds of percussion stuff, but he had a solo set at the Hartford Women's Composers Festival, and so he was looking for women's music to play, and he found me through XYZ, and we've got a wonderful, musical relationship now because of that. That's a different topic though, like people saying, okay, you're a woman, I want to play your stuff. I have a lot of feelings about that, but mostly I'm like, they wouldn't ask me if they didn't like my music.
Right. Right.
Or if they did ask me and they haven't heard my stuff, then good luck. Hope you like rhythms. Hope you like playing some things over and over again.
Yeah, welcome to Partials Town. We've been playing a lot of triplet partials in this.
Yeah, right.
Oh,
yeah.
Man.
Yeah, so some of that is that too. Mm-hmm. And then some of the commissions, but it's pieces that get played over and over again. Something like Hot Work. Let's say it was commissioned by the Gremlins duo, but then two of my saxophone friends wanted me to arrange it for Barry Sax, and so they played it. And the piece has got a lot of views on YouTube. I think by now it's got a lot for me, which was like 3,000 or 4,000 views. And so that piece is popular. People buy it. Like somebody buys a score like maybe once a month. But I never hear anything about it. I don't know if people play it. I think people buy it and then go, oh my God, this is so hard. It's really hard. It's like way harder than it looks.
So what are your thoughts on having that online presence as a composer? Like you have your website, you have a bunch of your music of different ensembles playing your music. It's on YouTube. You have a lot of your scores for sale through your website. Like, how important is an online presence to you as a composer?
I think it's very important because it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
I try to update my website. Like I ask people, if you're playing my stuff, I find out somebody's playing my music. I'm like, oh, and I just put it right up on the upcoming performances.
Oh, cool.
That's part of it too. Yeah, it's just, oh, hey, people are playing my stuff, and but then also, something like Instagram, which is more personal, I still, like if I'm in a rehearsal, I take a video.
Yeah.
Rehearsal, it could be somebody else's music because of course I am a percussionist too, but then, or like my own stuff, or just things that are happening. And I had a friend I've never met, kind of like you, a person that's like, oh, it's like we connect, via the power of the internet, but we've never met in
Yeah.
person. But,
Yeah.
and he said, I feel like I understand. He says, I feel like I'm keeping up with you, like in your life, but at least in your musical life.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's really cool. I think that Instagram is really great for something like that. But then Facebook, I mostly just do music things and the occasional comment on stuff. But I think it's important because people want to see what you're doing. I want to see what other people are doing, and it's interesting to me if I see, oh, somebody's playing this concert with this person, that I know. We're like, oh my gosh. It's a wonderful world of new music to appreciate and to find out about, and just new people to meet. And I think that's what's interesting, is that with the online presence now, we can see what people are doing. And I want to know the process. Not a lot of people put their process online,
Yeah.
but just, what are you doing? How did you get where you are? Something like this today, it's a little miracle. We couldn't have done this 15 years ago.
So this is, and then the universe exploded. Story. Okay. So
Yeah.
tell us a little bit more about that piece, and we've got a recording of it as well that we can listen to whenever we get to that point. But yeah, tell us more about and then the universe exploded.
Okay. Well, this starts with the toy piano. So we heard the story about Amy playing the piece with 2 toy pianos. Then the Toy Piano Festival. So the second year, I was the composer in residence for the Toy Piano Festival. Nice. That same one, the Florida one. Yeah. And so I was asked to write a ton of music, like for a kids group, and that ended up not working because they did something way cooler. But then a piece for toy piano and like some like horns that was for middle schoolers because there was like sort of a community part, and then a piece for the guest performers. So that was a piece for toy piano, cello, viola, and mandolin.
Ooh.
And that's called Four Thunder Sheets and Lion Roars. That's the name of that piece. It's fun. It's on YouTube. You can listen to it. It's a wonderful performance. So what happened was, sometime maybe I was writing that, like in the fall, but it was due on January or whatever. No, it was due like much earlier. Whatever. So I'm writing this, and then I was at school in different places, and I kept having conversations with people. Just they would pop up. It was like all in one week. Probably 5 or 6 different people were talking about how they were tired of the same old band music. Like this one gal, she was a flutist and she played in percussion ensemble. She was like, I'm so tired of these flute lines. It's the same thing. We're always playing the melody. We're always doing runs and just things like that. Just we need something different. So I got the wild hair idea to just, well, maybe I'll write one, and then maybe the Reinhardt band will rehearse it one day. Maybe I can ask. So I went to the band director's office, Rob Opitz, wonderful guy. And what I was gonna say, I'm writing a band piece. Do you think sometime we could take 10 minutes out of rehearsal and read it?
Yeah.
And before I could, basically what I said was, hey, I'm writing a band piece. And he stops me right there and he says, okay, get it done by February 28th and we'll play it on the spring show.
Yeah, you're like, oh, okay.
I'm so excited, but like, oh my God, like I don't know what I'm doing. Like I was just thinking about it, but now it's happening. Like just amazing. And he said, oh yeah, you have to conduct it too.
Nice.
Just, yeah, incredible. A wonderful gift and like just scaring me right out of my pants. So, here I was getting rid of the Toy Piano Festival and all this stuff was going on in my life. My car ate it. My cat died. I got really sick. Just all this stuff happened all at once. It's like a trifecta of things. And I was also secretly applying for master's degree programs because I didn't tell anybody at Reinhardt yet because I wasn't sure what was happening. So all this stuff going on. And I just went, oh my gosh, I have 6 weeks to write a band piece. So I just said, I'm going to arrange 4 thunder sheets and line roars for band. That's exactly what I did. So I took this quartet, and exploded it into a piece for band. And if you listen to the two of them like side by side, the structure is exactly the same. Like it's the exact same amount of measures, and each section, like the 5/8 section, is this long, and all the basic like harmonic stuff is the same. So you will hear the cello line somewhere, and you will hear the toy piano lines. You'll hear the mandolin line, but just totally exploded this way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what that is. And then, but in the quartet version, there's no counting at the end.
Right.
But this one, I threw the counting. In fact, the last section of the piece is like in 3 sections. The last section is it's like super Philip Glassy. It really is, but it's fun. It's fun. It's like over the top. It's over the top Philip Glass. Like that's what I think. Maybe it works sometimes. I wonder. But the reason the shouting came into it was because this was also, that last part was also a little toy piano improvisation for one in each hand, and I was reading it with one of my students at school who wasn't a percussionist, but she was taking percussion lessons. And so we were playing it together just because it's like pretty straightforward, you know? And she was kind of messing up a little bit. So I said, all right, we just started shouting the time signatures. Because it's all eighth notes. So we're just like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, and then stuff like that. And that gave me the idea for the band piece. And then that gave me the idea, oh, it's the countdown or the count out to the end of the world. And then it all kind of, you know, I never know what the title of a piece is. In fact, I never know if it's about anything. I never know what it's about until the end. And like for the quartet version, Fourth Thunder Sheets and Line Roars, isn't about anything. It never was. It was just fun. I didn't even know how to write a program note. I had no idea to write. Like, this is the fun piece for these instruments. I think that's what the program note was. And then next thing, you know, coming up with this exploding stuff.
Man.
So that's that story.
Yeah, so you've taken the quartet, you've exploded it into full band score. How long did that take?
Well, I mean, I cranked it out in like 6 weeks.
Wow.
Like the quartet was already there, you know, so then and then just doing all that. And I had a couple Skype lessons with composers because that was back when I like I didn't know how to make like a band score version of things. It was like a lot of notational things that were tricky for me, and like knowing the ranges of the instruments and stuff. So like the secret thing is that I do have like an addendum list for stuff for that piece, because for instance the rest of the piece is like, you know, grade, you know, 4 or 3 for most of the instruments, but the trumpet part is really hard. So you know, I say, hey, if this is ridiculous for the level of your band, you can take the trumpet part an octave down.
Oh, cool.
There's funny little things like that in there. So my first try.
So now you've got this piece, and you rehearse it with the Reinhardt Ensemble, and then they end up premiering it at their spring concert.
The spring show, yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and it was so fun to do that because, you know, I've been there for a while, and I knew almost all of the students personally in some way or another. They had taken percussion methods or something, and they were just all so into it. You know, it's just fun. It was so fun. It's a very small college. Just a very energetic crowd of people. And then also at that concert too, there was a premiere of a trombone player in the band. It was a premiere of his band piece too, and he conducted his piece. It was just a very special, and that was my very last concert at Reinhardt before I left. That was that band concert.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, it was. So yeah, that was a really special thing, and I just remember, I'll never forget the when I stood in front of the band for the first time. I'm so used to being in the back. Like in the back, and you stand there, and there's a row of people. There's flutes right here, like right here. There's people behind them, and I'm still trying to memorize, like, where are the trombones? Like, where are the flutes are here. The saxophones are like kind of weirdly split up, you know. And I'm like, you know, trying to figure out. But the sound, the enormity of the sound was just, it just blew me away. I couldn't believe it. And then, you know, do stuff in front of them, and I was just, you know, okay, I know how to point and do this. I've learned a little more conducting, but it's easy time signatures. It's really easy time signatures. It's like, so you can do a 3 pattern or 2 pattern and a 5 pattern, then you can do the whole piece basically. But it just, wow, like I almost didn't know what to do. I was just so like, and then the power that you have up there is something, you know?
Yeah.
And if you want them to speed up, they don't. So yeah, that was something.
Oh, man.
What a beautiful thing. Yeah, really lucky. I get now. So that was premiered in the spring of 2017. So it's been 2 years since the first performance, and I got a lot of requests for perusal scores. But I think by now, or at least including the future performances, it'll have been played live 10 times.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's new for me, like learning, and I print and ship it through this wonderful company, Long Island Music Engraving Services, um, because she does a great job, and it's like saves me money, and it's just like very professional. That's the only piece I do that with, is that
Mm.
band piece. So learning about that and learning about like putting like how much should I charge,
Yeah.
things like that. Like I don't know, it's a huge piece with a big score and a bunch of parts, and like how much does that happen, and actually making a perusal score, how to do that. It's just I learned a lot from like having written a band piece.
Hmm.
Yeah, so basically it's three sections. There's a 6/8. And then you have these 3/4 things that start to come in on top of it. And then more instruments start building in. Then a harmony comes in. What I would call harmony, simply because it's another layer on top that's doing something similar.
Hmm.
But it's not meant to be like it's not like a chord progression. I don't think. Somebody was listening to it for the first time and told me that it sounded like I was trying to do this particular chord progression, but I keep fooling people. And I don't think that's what it is. But then you have all these, what I like to call stabbies, dun, 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 dun. So, and those are, I just think at the beginning it's just so joyful. Like once in a while I listen to it and it puts like chills on my arms, just like, like when the timpani
Yes.
comes in, it's like, whoa. And, so then that kind of dies down and goes into the big 5/8 section, which is the Battle of the Bands.
Okay.
And so you have like I split people up into like maybe it's the upper woodwinds and the lower brass, and then saxophones and whoever. And so they're going, so there's four measures, other people, and they do it for a while, and then modulation, and then back to the original thing.
Hmm.
And each one's got like a little cap at the end of it. So it's not like a competition necessarily, but I like the idea of like a kind of a it's silly and it's fun. And then it kind of speeds up a little bit into this end part where it's most of the band shouting numbers, while a few people are playing dee 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 dee. It's just the flute skis and the vibes, two pairs of vibes, which can also be done for practical reasons on a set of bells and a vibraphone. And then it's like then more people go into playing the notes while less people are shouting, and then everybody who's still not playing actually has 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 with an exclamation point, and then it's just instrumental for there on out, where you have just everybody doing the chord progression in different ways with different rhythms that kind of bounce off of each other. And the piece ends with a bam. There's no downbeat. It ends on an and. Da 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 da. Done.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
downbeat.
And it's so funny because, I mean, even if you weren't a musician and didn't know what a downbeat was, it feels like there's this abrupt stop that it just kind of Yeah, like it works so well with that piece. It's really cool.
I think it's especially effective if you watch it with the video of Ina Dmitrieva is her name, and we were grad students at UWM together, and she's going to be starting her second year, but she's a crazy amazing film artist, and she did everything in camera. So all those little light things that you see, that's like called light painting, I think, where she would like catch passing cars. Or like you could see at one point, there's a section. It looks like who knows what, but it's actually like the light of the moon on Lake Michigan, or like a fence,
What?
or yeah,
Really?
it's amazing. It's amazing. So
That's wild.
there's no digital manipulation. Like I think she may or may not have changed the colors, but I don't. Um, anyway, so it's tons of tiny little frames of stuff, and the way she would do some of it and show me. So we maybe met 5 or 6 times, but it was all her. But what I love best about the end is that she's got this she's got this thing that's kind of becoming until the whole screen is black.
Yeah.
That's the end, and it's like so effective and so neat. I feel like that video really works well with the music. I thought she did a brilliant job. Mm-hmm.
All right, I want to get one more question in for the
Okay.
recording.
Okay.
And I might be stealing this from inside the actor's studio, but I love this question. And the question is, what is your favorite sound?
Oh, my favorite sound. Holy cannoli. I think it's the outdoors. I really love a thunderstorm. I love a
Ooh,
thunderstorm.
yes.
And an especially neat sound to be can be like a thunderstorm, but there's birds too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a really
Yeah,
good
I'm
one.
a water kind of person. So it's hearing the yeah, I think that's really it. That's my favorite sound. But if we want to talk about a musical sound, I like stuff that is very close timbres, but aren't exactly like, for instance, soprano saxophone and
Mm-hmm.
slightly distorted electric guitar. You put those two
Ah.
together, and they can be so close with each other. It's a really neat sort of thing. Or like clarinet and vibraphone,
Mm-hmm.
or or like the 30 key Shona toy piano and banjo.
Oh, wow. I haven't even thought of that.
Yeah, stuff like that. Or even if you get in the right kind of ranges, marimba and xylophone,
Mm-hmm.
they can be like that. Uh, I like things like that where I can and can't tell what's what.
That seems to be a theme with your music.
Who the heck is doing what? Who is that?
Who's playing?
Yeah.
Oh man. Oh, those are all really good. Well, I
Well,
think we
okay.
can close out the interview section, but if you still want to hang around and chat, we can do a special video for all the Patreon people,
Oh,
um,
cool. Okay.
and they can hear us chat a little bit more. So, I want to thank you so much for taking some time and talking with me today. And if our viewers want to learn more about Olivia and her music, you can visit her website, oliviakieffer.com. That's with two F's.
Two F's.
Um, and I'll also have links in the description below the video as well to all the pieces that we talked about so that you can check them out and give them a listen. So thank you so much, Olivia. I really
Thanks
appreciate
for
it.
having me. Thanks for having me.
If you'd like to watch more of this conversation, please head over to the Patreon page to learn more. Thanks for watching.